Imagine this. It's summer, 1978. You're 8 years old, barefoot, sticky with popsicle juice, and nobody knows exactly where you are. But nobody's worried either. You'll be home by dark. That was the rule, the only one that mattered. Now fast forward to today. A kid disappears for more than 10 minutes, and there's a full-blown Amber Alert. Helicopters, social media posts. The difference? We're not raising kids anymore. We're managing them. This isn't just nostalgia, it's a warning. We traded the dirt under your nails freedom of a 1970s childhood for sanitized safety and endless screen time. And what did we lose in the process? Resilience, creativity, emotional muscle, that wild sense of wonder that only comes from building forts out of junk and learning the hard way that bees don't like being poked. Here's the thing. Childhood freedom in the 1970s wasn't a glitch in the Matrix. It was a feature of a society that trusted its kids to grow through life, not be protected from it. Parenting in the 1970s might look reckless by today's standards, but it quietly nurtured some of the most emotionally resilient, self-reliant humans walking around today. Sound counterintuitive? That's because it is, and that's why you're here. In this video, we're going deep, not just reminiscing about the boomer childhood memories or 70s generation psychology, but unpacking the psychology, the parenting philosophy, and what we really lost when unsupervised childhood became taboo. You'll walk away with more than just warm, fuzzy 1970s childhood memories. You'll gain insight into how life before the internet actually shaped better humans and what we can learn from it. The culture of unsupervised freedom. Back in the day, being a kid meant you had one rule: be home by dark. That was it. No GPS, no check-ins, no constant supervision. It was common for children to roam entire neighborhoods, explore creeks, climb trees, or bike 10 miles just to see what was on the other side of town. This wasn't neglect. It was normal life before smartphones, a time when kids weren't tracked but trusted. And somehow the world felt safer. Or maybe we were just braver. This kind of unsupervised childhood taught kids how to navigate danger, not avoid it entirely. If you got lost, you figured it out. If you fell, you learned to get back up, literally and emotionally. There were no safety nets, no helmets most of the time, and certainly no helicopter parents. And yet, kids developed a kind of psychological toughness you rarely see today. They weren't fragile, they were gritty. Think about it. How do you build confidence if you're never allowed to try, fail, and try again on your own terms? The 1970s kids' lifestyle wasn't about recklessness. It was about learning through living. From building tree houses with scavenged wood to settling disputes with nothing but a dirty look and a handshake, the playground was real life, and that created something priceless, a sense of personal agency that today's screen-glued childhood often lacks. Life before screens and the rise of imagination. Before tablets and TikTok, there were cardboard boxes, sticks, and unlimited imagination. A broom handle could be a sword, a pile of leaves, the battleground of epic wars. The absence of screens didn't leave kids bored, it left them free. Free to invent games, create rules, and dream without algorithms telling them what to like. Childhood without screens wasn't empty, it was full of possibility. And it wasn't passive, it was deeply engaging. This DIY entertainment shaped more than just creativity, it wired the brain for resilience. When boredom hit, the solution wasn't handed to you by a glowing screen. You had to work for it. And through that, kids built something far more lasting than a high score. They built inner resourcefulness. Being a kid in the 70s meant you weren't a consumer of content. You were a creator of your own adventures. That's the kind of autonomy that trains problem solvers, not scrollers. Think of the difference. Today's child gets rewarded for clicking. A 70s kid got rewarded for thinking. If you wanted to play a space game, you made one up. If you wanted a secret club, you built a hideout behind the garage and swore your friends in with spit handshakes. It was a time when free-range parenting allowed kids to explore not just the world, but their own minds. And that kind of mental exercise, it sticks with you. Parenting in the 1970s. Trust over control. Parents in the 1970s weren't less loving, they were just less controlling. They believed that part of growing up meant getting hurt a little, making mistakes, and learning from them. Today, that might sound controversial, but this parenting approach built emotional resilience in children. It was a time when scraped knees were badges of honor, and kids didn't need bubble wrap to survive the day. The motto wasn't "be safe," it was "figure it out." Parenting in the 1970s leaned more on preparation than protection. You were taught basic street smarts, then set free to apply them. It wasn't about fear, it was about faith. Faith that their kid could handle the world. And that's what forged character. Kids weren't told the world would adjust to them. They learned to adjust to the world. That subtle shift made all the difference in developing a mindset grounded in self-reliance. Real talk. If you fell out of a tree, your mom didn't sue the tree. She probably told you to stop being careless, handed you some iodine, and sent you back outside. That might sound harsh by today's standards, but it was rooted in a belief that pain was part of the learning process. This style of parenting didn't just raise kids, it raised problem solvers, leaders, and creators. And whether we realize it or not, that early exposure to risk shaped a generation in ways modern parenting often stifles. What did growing up in the 70s really do to a kid's mind? In short, it toughened them up. Not in a hardened, emotionless way, but in a grounded, self-aware, adaptable way. Without constant validation or digital distractions, 70s kids learned to self-regulate, to sit with discomfort, and to figure things out internally. That's not just a parenting win, it's deep generational psychology at work. They weren't coddled, and because of that, they became mentally strong. Take a moment to imagine the psychological impact of the 70s childhood. Conflict resolution happened face-to-face, not through texts. Humiliation stung, but you learned from it. Triumph felt real because you had to earn it. These weren't just memories, they were emotional reps, building the kind of emotional resilience in children that today often has to be manufactured through therapy or structured programs. 70s kids didn't talk about mindfulness. They lived it, even if they didn't know the word. This was the era where mental health and childhood weren't even linked in conversation. But paradoxically, kids were often mentally tougher. They had fewer labels, fewer diagnoses, and fewer coping mechanisms handed to them. Instead, they built their own, sometimes through pain, but always through experience. And that shaped how they faced adulthood. It begs the question, what happens to a generation raised without these trials? Then versus now, what we lost and can still regain. Compare the 1970s kids' lifestyle to today's reality, and the contrast is jarring. Back then, kids before technology had freedom, trust, and room to grow. Today, many are tethered to screens, calendars, and constant adult oversight. We've traded real-world experience for virtual safety, and in the process, we've bred a generation that often struggles with anxiety, indecision, and even identity. It's not their fault, but it is our wake-up call. Childhood then and now is the clearest reflection of how society has shifted. What once was spontaneous, messy, and unpredictable has become optimized, scheduled, and sanitized. That shift didn't just change childhood, it changed who kids become. And we're now seeing the fallout. Young adults overwhelmed by basic life tasks, needing permission to fail, and often unsure how to bounce back. The lost generation childhood isn't just a catchy phrase, it's real, and it's personal. But here's the powerful part. We don't have to stay stuck in this loop. There are ways to reintroduce freedom, creativity, and emotional strength into kids' lives, starting small. Let them play without structure, encourage boredom, embrace risk. We can't turn back time, but we can borrow its wisdom. And when we do, we might just rediscover a bit of that fearless spark that once made childhood the best classroom of all. So here we are, looking back not just with nostalgia, but with clarity. The childhood freedom of the 1970s wasn't some lucky accident. It was a time-tested way of shaping humans who could think, feel, lead, and bounce back. We've buried that under Wi-Fi signals, overprotection, and convenience. But maybe it's time to dig it back up. Ask yourself, what are kids learning when every moment is managed? What do they lose when their world is filtered through a screen instead of lived through scraped knees and sunburns? And more importantly, what would happen if we slowly, intentionally started giving that childhood back? You don't need to throw your phone in the lake or build a time machine. Start small. One unsupervised play session. One weekend without screens. One conversation with your kids where you let them lead. Because the truth is, the world needs more 70s kids energy, more resilience, more emotional muscle, more real-world grit. If this video made you think, good, that's what we're here for. Now let me hear from you. Did you grow up in the 70s or know someone who did? What's one lesson from that era you think today's kids desperately need? Drop it in the comments. We read every one. And hey, if you want to keep exploring how we can raise stronger, freer, happier humans, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell, because we're just getting started.